Problems with looking for the perfect phrase. At first, when I was just beginning in the field of seduction, I had a notebook full of phrases with which I could start a conversation until I finally kissed the girl. My notes were written, crossed out, and rewritten. I tried to perfect them until I was tired, as if I had tried to find the perfect algorithm for picking girls up. In the time that I spent studying openers, preset phrases, and seduction, I could probably have developed a cure for cancer or become a nuclear physicist. Well, perhaps not, but anyways, it was a big chunk of time. The point is that for a long time, my concern revolved around finding the perfect phrase, believing it was important. Now, why do the majority of men believe this? An opener is not only linked to what you say, but also to starting a conversation, which can frequently be very difficult because of anxiety. This is why, in my opinion, there is so much focus on openers and phrases. If you don't talk to any women at all on a night out, it can get to be a very frustrating experience. One of those nights where we stand around in the bar with our glass at chest height, watching others as they have fun around us, while we feel miserable. Oh yeah, there is nothing really wrong with having a preset phrase lined up to use. Sometimes they can be fun and useful. The problem is when we see these phrases as something necessary to keep the conversation going or impress her. This approach hides us in the background of a search for validation and puts her above us. Unconsciously, we are saying that we should try hard to win her attention or impress her, rather than meriting this attention because of who we are. We look for a perfect phrase to show how cool we are, or to make us more interesting, because we really do not consider ourselves to be like that. Another problem is that quite often we would rather blame the phrase than take responsibility ourselves for the woman's reaction. We blame the phrase to avoid our responsibility and don't work on the underlying problem. Oh, this opener doesn't work. But perhaps you stuttered or your hands trembled or you accidentally spat in her face. But of course, we should definitely change the phrase because it doesn't work. Let's look at an example that a seduction coach tells us one of his students to use with a group of women. It can be anything like, "Hello, I saw you, and I liked you." Or, "Who lies more, men or women?" Or, if you prefer, "I'd kill a whale with a flip-flop for you." It's all the same. The coach uses it, and it works perfectly, because he is completely congruent with that opener. He is used to walking directly up to girls and saying, "You look great." And that doesn't seem creepy or strange because of his body language and attitude. But then, his student, who cannot even maintain eye contact, who is extremely nervous and cannot smile, is rejected with answers like, "I have a boyfriend," or "Get lost," or simply with uncomfortable silences along with the group's mischievous giggles. So, why don't openers work for everyone? Even if the words we say sound cool, the execution, the attitude behind the words, the body language, and other communication factors can be sending a completely opposite message to what our words mean. The message the student is sending is that he is someone fearful, insecure, negative, desperate, dramatic, degenerate. Okay, not that bad. The point is that the girl is receiving much more information than just the words. Maybe now you're thinking, "I don't have any problem going up to a girl to talk to her. I don't tremble. I just don't know what to say to her." Well, what happens is that we are still looking for her validation, and subconsciously, that is what we are going to communicate. No matter what beautiful words we are saying, what we are going to be transmitting is what we are subconsciously thinking. "I need a phrase to impress her." Why? because we still see her as better than us. And what happens when we think this way? What happens is that we will get the feeling that we need to force ourselves to get her. It's that moment when we start thinking of her as a prize, and everything we say will be used against us. And here is the important difference. The coach does not think he needs a phrase, regardless of whether he uses it or not, because he does not think of the woman he speaks to as better than him. Rather, he seeks to establish a relationship as equals. However, the student who does see the woman as better than him thinks he needs a phrase, and even though he and the coach say the same thing, they communicate different messages. As a result, the girl will feel that there is something strange about the student, that he is not being genuine or authentic, and so she will reject him. As I said before, it's not that it's wrong to look for preset openers or conversations, but the truth is that most of them are not going to be of much use to us. If we try to do what others have already done, but it's not congruent with our personality, we'll probably fail. Even if we receive a positive response, such as, "Oh, thank you," most likely we're just going to sit there thinking, "Great, but what do I do now?" Many guys told me how their conversations flowed well when they talked to girls who didn't interest them, while when they were with women they liked, they confessed that they had problems, that the conversation didn't flow, and all of their efforts were worthless. Their question was how they should act in front of these women that they liked. "I feel like if I had 2 or 3 topics to go, I know I could improve and get women to like me more," the one guy wrote to me. In Chapter 3 of Seduction Simplified, The Girl 10, I talk about the mistake of believing that we must act differently according to how attractive we consider a woman. The logic of this thinking is that the more attractive a woman is, the greater the difficulty in seducing her, which determines our behavior and how to get her. One of the problems with this is believing that women see themselves in the same way that we see them. We could say that it doesn't depend so much on their physical beauty, but rather on their emotional need and self-esteem. In short, how they see themselves. In the same way, our attractiveness and the attraction that we make her feel will depend more on the perception we have of ourselves and our emotional needs. If we overestimate her, we will undoubtedly feel more nervous. We will act awkwardly, and we are likely to feel that she is out of reach. The men that women find attractive are those that they see as equal to or slightly above them. If we think we need a funny phrase to pick her up, it will be difficult for her to see us as attractive. It's not that there aren't any eloquent phrases, ones that make people fall in love or that really have a profound impact on them. It's just that we shouldn't focus on the phrase itself. It won't depend on that. If a phrase works really well, it's likely that she already felt attracted before we approached her. So, what can we do? So long as we are 100% congruent and honest, we can say almost anything. There are no incorrect phrases when they are honest ones. It's a matter of changing our mindset. We do not need to say anything special to attract her. I used to think that to pick up a woman, I needed to say something interesting, make her laugh, receive 3 indicators of interest, and then move on to another phase. The less we think about what to say or talk about with a woman, the more we will concentrate on the interaction itself. We can genuinely take interest in the conversation and respond naturally, instead of thinking about the next phrase to say. The fewer things that go through our heads, the more time we will have for a fun, interesting, and exciting conversation with her. Through a process of trial and error, rejections, and uncomfortable moments, the conversation begins to flow as a result of the experience we gained. Sure, it's going to take a while until we start gaining experience, but that's how it is with any other skill. Just keep in mind that you're not waiting for her to say something like, "Oh yes, I want you to take me to your bed right now," every time we start a conversation. The fact that you receive a reaction is positive. Let's play with that reaction and move on to another conversation. It's like this. Due to experience and seeing the girl as an equal, the conversation got going. That is what we should focus on, not words.